Hello, Classical Conversations Nation. This is Robert Bortins, CEO of Classical Conversations, and I'm so privileged to be here today with a mom, a veteran, an author, a politician, and a commentator. I thought my mom was busy, but this lady, she does it all, and that's Kathy Barnette. She was just on Fox News. Actually, I saw her there. She wrote her first book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America, explaining why liberal policies have failed the Black community time and time again and will fail the larger American community as Democrats rush hard to the left of the party. She's a veteran, a former adjunct professor of corporate finance. If our CFO ever retires, I might give you a call. Sought after conference speaker and conservative commentary. And now you're running to take on Washington, D.C. Congress, 4th Congressional District in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And you served in the Armed Forces Reserves for 10 years. You have been on the board of a crisis pregnancy center for 5 years. That's something that's near and dear to my heart and our family's heart. And you've been homeschooling for 6 years as well. And we're actually releasing a blog about all the homeschoolers running for office, and hopefully I'll get to interview more of them. But we just want everyone to know these awesome moms and dads who are committed to their children's education. So Kathy has been part of CC. She said 4 years in Essentials helped her write her book. And then, but just want to really know about your homeschooling experience so far and a little bit about your family, like how many children you have and all that good information.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited to be on with you. We love CC. We love Classical Conversation. We have been homeschooling, as you said, 6 years. And it was so, I mean, it's just the nature of things. It was providential for us to be doing this. At the time that we decided to homeschool, my daughter was getting ready to start kindergarten. My son was in 3rd grade. I have 2 kids. My daughter is now 11, going into 6th grade, and my son is 14, going into 9th grade. But we started way back when, and at that time, I did not think that I knew anyone who homeschooled. For some reason, homeschool moms keep it quiet. I don't know why, but no one was talking to me about it. And my daughter started kindergarten here in Pennsylvania. And I noticed that she had a guidance counselor, and I was very curious on why my 5-year-old had a guidance counselor. And so I emailed them and said, send over your teaching objectives. And it was 35 of the most ridiculous things. And essentially, the guidance counselor serves as a co-parent, right? Teaching them, how to tell the difference between the lie and the truth. And I'm thinking to myself, most adults I know can't distinguish between a lie and a truth. How are you going to stand in front of my child to do that? And it was a whole host of other, very ridiculous and inappropriate topics that they were going to talk to my 5-year-old with. And then, over the course of a couple of weeks, after having conversations with my son, he came home in 3rd grade saying, Mommy, what's a stepmom? And I said, why? He said, well, my teacher was talking about his divorce and about his new wife and the stepchildren and all of that. And after a conversation with my son's teacher, it became very clear that this was not going to work for my family and I. And I had the bright idea on Friday to take my kids out of school. And I went on Monday. I took them out of the public school system. Tuesday, we're sitting around the table, and I'm like, okay, now what? I had no idea what to do at all. But I have a large Facebook following, and I remember posting, this is what we decided to do. Who can help me? And around the world, I mean, literally, people just started flooding my inbox with messages. And there was a mom in Texas. I'm living in Pennsylvania. There was a mom in Texas who was a part of a Classical Conversation campus. She found my local Classical Conversation chapter out here, community. She called them, set up a meeting. So Monday, I took my kids out of school, public school. Tuesday, I'm sitting around the kitchen table saying, now what? Thursday, we went to visit the Classical Conversation community and signed up and have not left since. I love it. I'm so very grateful to God that somehow in his providential way of doing things, that he would place us on this journey. And it's been a, it's been a long journey some days. For those of you who are now homeschooling your kids because of COVID-19, you recognize homeschooling is not for the faint of heart.
Nope.
But I have grown as a mom and as a person, and just having that time to spend with my children has been priceless.
That's awesome. That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. I think there's a lot of families who are kind of in that same situation you were 6 years ago, and with the COVID, and just saying, I got to pull my kids out. I know that what they're learning now, I'm being exposed to that and these ideas that are counter our beliefs and really our culture. So that's wonderful, and just so excited that you've chosen Classical Conversations. Now, I did not realize you had written a book until I watched your interview, and obviously our writers here at Classical Conversations are all full-time homeschooling moms. We have one dad, I believe. But what's it like to write a book while you're homeschooling? And, were your kids helpful? Was Classical Conversations helpful? And what inspired you? What inspired you to write this book?
Again, it was something that God had placed on my heart for a very long time, but I just never knew how that was going to work. I didn't know anyone in publishing. And yet the company that published my book, Hachette Publishing, they are the #1 conservative publisher in the nation. They publish almost all of those who are on Fox, as well as Donald Trump Jr.'s new book that just came out, Senator Tim Scott's book that just came out. So I'm in good company, so I'm very excited. And it was just very interesting because I remember the first time my son was now able to start Essentials, and I was honestly looking for a way out. I was looking for a way of escape. I did not want to have anything to do with it. And I just talked about it, and I tried to, like, can I hire someone to come in and sit with him? And they were like, no, that's not how it works. And it was just foreign to me. I took remedial everything when I went to college. It was so sad. And English, the language, it was just like, I don't know, but I love math. And I think, has someone explained to me that language, English, is almost, it for me in my brain is there's logic and there's order to it. And no one ever really explained that until I started taking Essentials right along with my son. Diagramming, never even heard of diagramming. Diagramming, what is that? I even pulled out my chart A
so you
guys can see it. But as I was writing my book, you can see all of my notes on this side. I literally had chart A sitting next to me as I wrote my book. And I would always think to myself, when you start, looking for, I can't even really remember all of them now, but you want the dress ups, right? Yeah. How you want to dress up your writing so it doesn't, so that it's not, boring, or, put in some staccato sentences, things I knew nothing about. And I just loved it, but just all of it. I love Essentials. If nothing else, Essentials. It's like everyone should be required to take Essentials. It's a whole nother level. And for my babies at such a young age to be, even before my daughter was able to take Essentials, but because her brother was taking it, I had her learning chart A at a very early age, knowing when I discovered it as a grown woman, that this is something everyone should know about and should understand. And so I could not have written my book. Let me just tell your mom. I could not have written my book. And let me tell you, I did not have a ghostwriter. I wrote all 288 plus pages by myself. It's highly documented. It is such a wonderful read. If you go out to Amazon, you can see all of the comments of people just commenting on how brilliantly written, how brilliantly I wrote it. And I just I mean, and that's not to brag on myself, but really, I give all the credit to Essentials, to Classical Conversation. And let me also say, there was very little editing that was done on the back end of this. So thank you, Classical Conversation. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. I went to Clemson and I took a couple English classes there, and Essentials was created after I had been homeschooled, so I didn't get to go through Essentials. And when I was 26 and came back after working as an engineer for 5 years and decided to come work for the family company, I actually sat down and did foundations and essentials. So it was myself and 6 other students who were, master students in foundations, and then about 13 of us in essentials. And my mom lived in another state, so she wasn't there to sit with me and help me. But I agree. I learned more in that 1 year in essentials than I did in any of my English courses at university. So parents,
Yeah.
take heart. It is difficult, but it is well worth it. And hey, you
It
can
is.
maybe
Now,
write a best-selling
granted,
book.
I probably sat in about 4 years before I was able to competently write my book. But
Still,
I'm so excited for my babies because they will not have that obstacle in their life. They will test very well. In fact, they do test very well. My son, when he was, we didn't have to take any of the state testings this year because of COVID-19. But so in 7th grade, he was already testing at a 12th grade level in many of these subjects. So I'm very excited.
awesome. So what prompted you to run for Congress?
Again, CC would be a part of that. I'm sitting on the floor with my daughter doing geography. And again, as you know, I mean, homeschool moms, we know just how all encompassing homeschooling is. It
Yes, ma'am.
encompasses almost every single aspect of your life. It commands so much of you if you want to do it right. And now that there are so many other moms whose kids were in public school now having to, engage with homeschooling, you too know just how all encompassing it is. So anyway, I'm sitting on the floor late November with my daughter going over geography. And the thought hit me, what in the world are my babies going to inherit?
Hmm.
Because I have sacrificed, like so many moms, but even more so with homeschooling, you sacrifice so much in order to be able to give your babies the best education, the best part of who you are. And I'm thinking to myself, I guess it was really a kind of a selfish thought as well. What in the world have I sacrificed all of this for?
Mm,
Because what in the world are my babies going to inherit?
yeah.
Is there going to be a country? Is there going to be an America for them to inherit? And COVID-19 was not a part of the discussion. Black Lives Matter wasn't a part of the discussion. The toppling of our history, none of that was a part of the discussion. And yet there were so many telltale signs that our nation is in trouble. And it was at that moment that although I'm a writer, I go on Fox quite often. Back in the before I decided to run for Congress, it was easily for me to be on 2 to 3 times a week, a national platform. And yet I felt this nudge that I need to do more. And the concept of running for office was not on my immediate list, is nowhere talked about in my book. I had no intentions of doing that. And yet, again, providence, this is what God would have me to do. And for such a time as this, I understand exactly why He would have someone like myself with my own personal background to be running for Congress.
Yeah. We're very excited to support your campaign and let people know about what you stand for and how to support you. Have your kids become involved in your campaign? Are they, well, I guess you can't knock on doors right now. Are they making phone
Oh, we're
calls?
knocking on doors now. We're
Oh,
knocking on
good.
doors and then we back
Amen.
away for
Yeah.
social distancing.
Okay, good, good, good.
Yes, right? Because let me tell you, I could not have paid someone to help me teach a civics lesson that my babies are now learning hands-on. They're in the meetings. Now my babies have always been, I call them my babies. I know they're 14 and 11, but they're always going to be my babies.
Yes.
But you know, they've always traveled with me to New York. They've always traveled with me to speaking events. I'm sure very much like you and your mom. I'm sure she traveled with
Yes.
you, had to travel with her
Oh yeah.
to some extent. And so they're very well versed on the issues in our country relative to their peers already. But this has just taken it up to a whole nother level. I understand so much clearer why our founding fathers set our nation up, established our nation in the manner in which they did, and how it has fallen off the rails so much, right? So the things that we're learning and foundations and about our founding fathers and about our government, our system. And so much of that is being flipped up on its ear right now. It is quite unnerving when you begin to peek behind the curtains and you recognize just how far we've moved as a nation away from those very early foundational principles that make us who we are as Americans. And so again, my babies, they are a part of my inner sanctum meetings. They're there putting flags together or yard signs together. I got them involved in every aspect of it. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember growing up, my mom was very politically active, and we would help campaigns and knock on doors and hand out flyers. And I even built one of the first websites for a U.S. senator who was running for Senate in North Carolina. So now I can barely open my email, but when I was younger, I used to know how to use computers a lot more effectively. But that's awesome. Now you said we can purchase your book on Amazon.com. Is there anywhere else where we can
Yeah,
send viewers?
everywhere books are sold, you can purchase my book, Barnes and Noble, anywhere else. My book, it was released February of this year, and it went #1 on Amazon 2 months in a row. It has, and the reception, it continues to be very well received. So very excited about that.
Awesome. And your campaign, if how can we get involved? Is there a website? If we live in Pennsylvania, is there a way to volunteer?
Yes. Yeah, we even have internship programs. And so and I think it's because I am a homeschool mom. Everything I do, I think of it from the perspective of my children being involved and kids in general being involved. So we've created a next generation committee within our campaign, and they have already, like, they're already planning. We've secured a movie theater. There, so many of the kids around here have foregone their graduation, their prom, and all of these other activities ending up the year. So our campaign, we're going out there, and we've already secured a theater. We're going to have movies, popcorn, entertainment, and next generation is heading that up. They've already created videos for commercials, and they're doing all of that from beginning to end. So I'm very excited about that. But you can go to Kathy Barnette for Congress.com, Kathy Barnette for Congress.com, and in order to engage with us and to hopefully be a part of it.
Is that the number 4 or the word 4?
The
F-O-R.
word 4,
Awesome.
F-O-R.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we get that into the, down below in the comments. I hope everyone likes and shares this and lets us know that you're watching. I know we're all rooting for you. Before we let you go, there's millions of new homeschoolers. So do you have any advice for those new homeschoolers?
One day at a time, Mom. Everyone's going to ask you, are you going to do this all the way through high school? One day. It started off with me one day at a time. Any moment I was ready to put them back in public school. And then it turned to every school year at a time, right? So just 1 year at a time. And so that's it. Just breathe and enjoy. Get a book, sit and read with your baby. It's not a marathon. Just enjoy your children. They grow up so fast.
There you have it. Yeah, God gives us enough grace for today, and that's it. And that's all we can do is take it one day at a time. So,
Yes.
well, we're going to be rooting for you. We'll make sure we get the word out. We need more homeschool moms, more veterans in the Congress, because we know that you guys are going to fight for what's right and what's best for our country. And as a father of 3 now, it's really important to me as well to make sure that we're giving them a country that they can be proud of, and one that loves the Lord. And that starts with the grassroots effort, and that's the effort that all these homeschool moms and families are doing around the United States. So I'm excited to see more people joining our ranks, and just thank you again for your time today, and good luck and God bless.
Thank you. Blessings.